So as episode 3 opens up, right, we get a scene of a guy sitting in a chair who is being interrogated. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, who is this guy? And he's the guy that was actually tailing Klein in episode 1. So remember the part where Klein was walking down the market district? He felt as if somebody was tailing him, right? Was watching him. This is the guy. And he's from the Aurora Order, seen by the tattoo on his neck. And just to give you a brief summary about the Aurora Order is that they are a secret organization that dates back like 200 to 300 years back, and they believe in the true creator. And just to touch upon the philosophy of their group is that they believe the true creator was the rightful heir to the legacy of the ancient sun god. Now, the ancient sun god, I won't touch up too much on him, but just think of him as a fallen god, a long dead god. He's dead already. And how the ancient sun god was viewed in the past was like he was the great being who created this world, the father of all living creatures, etc. So back to the Aurora Order. They believe that they all originate from the true creator. Not just them, but every human being, everything in this world originated from the true creator, carrying divine essence he bestowed upon them. Divinity exists within every living being, and no one is inherently more noble than the other. Right, so how it works in the secret order is that they distinguish status based on their proximity to him and their ability to embrace his teachings. So what does this mean? It means that since we advance in sequence of our pathways, right, that we've chosen, we get closer in divinity to the true creator, is what they say. Meaning, we share in his divinity as we get closer to him, right? That we can consume potions because of him. We can face trials. We can accumulate more divine power, right? Ultimately, their end goal, is to become angels in service to the true creator, and that's their philosophy. Now, back to the scene. So Dern is interrogating this Aurora Order member, and Dern is a sequence 7 nightmare of the sleepless pathway. So he has the ability to conjure dreams, right? He has the ability to pull people into dreams. This has its advantages because it can help interrogations, right? You can actually extract information from dreams. So they get a piece of the puzzle about the Antigenesis family notebook. They know that he had it, right? And then he sold it to Welch McGovern, which was Klein's friend, the original Klein. It was Klein's friend who committed suicide, right? And from Welch McGovern, the notebook jumped to Klein. So obviously he was tailing Klein because Klein was supposed to have it last. He needed to find that notebook. And since they want to find it, it means they want to uncover the secrets of that notebook. So after the interrogation of the Aurora Order member, Ray comes in. He says Klein has found something. And we know we transition back to the house of the kidnappers, right? But that's the question. Why are we here? How did Klein find something, and how did he come across it? Well, in the novel it is explained, but unfortunately due to too much information, I feel that the anime has cut away a lot of explanation material. But what is explained in the novel is that upon signing his employment contract to the Nighthawks, they would continue the investigation of the Antigenesis family notebook, and Klein was given a recommendation by Dunn to walk around Tangent, walk his familiar routes home, as well as try out new routes in order to figure out where he might have hidden the Antigenesis family notebook. Remember the excuse that Klein gave Dunn and Leonard in episode 1 was that he couldn't remember what happened after he committed suicide, or a failed attempt suicide, and there's something wrong with his memory. They're a little bit fragmented. That's why Dunn gave him the recommendation to walk his route in order to trigger a sense of familiarity, or just get a sense of his usual routes. And from there they can actually try to figure out where the original Klein might have taken the notebook. So that's what happened in the novel, but in the anime they actually condensed it. So upon drinking his potion, Klein teamed up with Leonard in his first case, which was a kidnapping case of a wealthy merchant's son. And as they entered the house, right, and as they subdued that monster, I hope you saw that Klein was feeling as if something was wrong with this house, or was there something wrong with him, right? That's where he got the premonition that something is happening here, or something is weird. And here's the nice thing. Here's the nice thing about the Seer potion. We know that all 22 pathways enhances a user's capabilities, right, in different ways. But here's something that's very nice about the Seer pathway. Since it's a pathway that is involved in mysticism, right, it heightens your premonition, right, your perception. It helps you do divination arts, ritualistic magics, and more. It was up to Klein to interpret what the signs meant. It meant that he was here, so he called it in, right? That's why we're here back at this home. Now they figured out that Klein was the one that gave Ray Bieber the Intergenesis family notebook, and I think that same night is when the original Klein committed suicide. So whose house is this? Well, it's Ray Bieber's house, and he's single. He lives with his widowed mother in Tension City. His late father was a gem artisan. Ray inherited his father's trade and earns about £1 and 15 soils a week. And he also lives with his widowed mother here. I'm not too clear on why she died. Maybe it was because of the Intergenesis family notebook. But anyway, the target of inquiry now is Ray Bieber, so they're tracking him now. Now, skipping to the next scene, we see Klein is rocking some new clothes, and I hope you know why that is, because Dune was complimenting him. If you don't know, well, here's that bit about why that is. If we rewind back to episode 2, and I hope you watched the end segment after the credits rolled, it actually shows that Klein and Melissa was welcoming Benson in their new residence. Now, you might be wondering why that is. Where does this scene come from? Well, it actually comes from the novel. In the novel, when Klein signed the contract of employment as a civil staff employee under the Nighthawks, he was given an advance of £8 or £10, I think it was around there. So that advance he would use to buy a cane, a suit, as well as move him and Melissa and Benson out of their old living residence. Their old living residence was in Ore County, in Tension City, the Northern Bureau, specifically in Delphidi Street, right? A relatively poor and rundown residential area. If you watch episode 1 again, right, at the beginning is where you will see Klein waking up, and you will actually have a view of his surrounding, where a lot of mirrors and windows are cracked, as well as the floorboards, planks, everything is worn down, etc., etc. This reflects their lower middle class statuses, right? So the original Klein was actually poor, and illustrated in episode 2, thanks to the contract that Klein signed of employment, he was actually given enough reason to move out. Another reason, right, that also composed Klein to move out was, one, he was going to practice mysticism, so he needed a room for himself. He can't let people barge in on him when he was practicing mysticism. Therefore, Dun in the novel gave him that reason that he needed to move out. The second reason was also he had a sister, Melissa, that was growing up, and as a lady, she needed privacy for her. But what they changed is in episode 2, right, in that scene, is that they made Benson give Klein his new suit. So it's different from the novel. They made Benson give him the new suit as a gift for his new job. Continuing, we see Dun giving Klein a spirit pendulum, and I mean, you can see Dun's caring nature. I love the way they illustrated this scene here. He's close to his novel version. I mean, he's the captain, right? And he saw that one of his guys that is of a pathway that is about mysticism is missing a important item, which is a spirit pendulum. So he gives him one, right? Continuing, I feel I should clarify some misunderstanding episode 3 has caused, which is Klein is performing divination arts in this episode, right? Which is the dowsing rod and the spirit pendulum divination. And as he performs it, it might comes off as him just knowing outright how to do these things. And that's not it. That's not the case. In the novel, he's actually having classes with O'Neill. I hope you remember O'Neill. In the old episode 2, he's the old man that made Klein's potion. Remember, he's from the mystery pathway, right? Mystery pathway, and seers have the ability to learn mysticism. And that's how the potion works. It equips you with the ability to learn mysticism and divination arts. It doesn't outright give you the ability to just perform them. No. And it falls on you, the user, to perform and practice these arts in the real world. So I think they will illustrate it going further down as the episodes continue airing. And that's just what I wanted to clear up. We can actually see it this way. View episode 3 as Klein putting what he learned to practice. So if you don't know what is spirit pendulum divination, it's also called spirit dowsing, right? It relies on the astral projection of your body, connecting with the spiritual and space itself to communicate with spiritual intelligence through the aid of natural materials such as crystals, gems, and special metals. Case in point, the spirit pendulum that was given to Klein. Now the other one, which is the dowsing rod seeking, which is the one that Klein was poking on the image of Ray Viber. Divination is used in attempt to locate a target. Obviously, it requires a dowsing rod. So they tracked Ray Beaver to the docks, and he was trying to absorb the Intergenesis family notebook, but unfortunately he failed. He failed due to inadequate preparation. This was a artifact with a lot of high capabilities. The slightest disturbance can result in the ritual going wrong, which happened. He was actually interrupted by the approach of the Nighthawks. But anyway, as they were battling, I was quite shocked by the capabilities of the Nighthawks. I feel as if they were given a buff. Lower sequences, they don't have a lot of flashy power, so I think I'm not complaining. It's all right. They're trying to appeal to the audience. Another thing that struck me as odd was the other Nighthawks. They actually used swords. In the novel I read, fights is happening with bare fists and a mix of beyonder abilities, never with swords. I mean, but it was just something that stood out to me. And another thing is that they use charms. Charms are correct. They definitely use charms, especially here. They use sleeper charms. So by throwing the charm at the target and by chanting the incantation on that charm, they actually unleash a specific ability of a pathway. It's a sleeper charm, trying to put Ray Beaver to sleep and then kill him. An example of other charms that can be used are basically from the sun pathway. By throwing it at the target and using its enchantment, saying it, they actually unleash a beam that actually purifies an area. So that's an example of how charms work. It's quite nice. It's quite nice, if I have to say. The fight was not off-putting. It was I think it was done right. I have no complaints. It was truly interesting how they fought. Movements were not rigged. They could actually fight a sequence 7 of the Seer pathway. So I'm not complaining. As you might know, those of the sleepless and death pathway, they have combat abilities in their lower ranks of the sequences. Someone that you should keep your eye on is actually Madame Dahlia. We might not be too well acquainted with her abilities. Well, she's from the death pathway and she's a sequence 7 spirit medium. So she has different abilities than those of Klein. For instance, her eyes, they turn gray. So what does that mean, right? What happened with her eyes? Well, those eyes are called the Eye of Death. Interesting. So the Eye of Death has quite a nasty ability. So by pressing down on their eye, it will turn gray, then colorless, allowing them to quickly determine the weaknesses of even unfamiliar dead spirit creatures through observation. And just to add on that, for them it's like being able to enter the spirit world and the realm of the dead, looking down on the enemy from a high level, looking for that very important node. Yes, so that's what happened. So Ray Beaver, he died when absorbing the family notebook. So he was in an undead state. He was like a spirit of some sort. So using the Eye of Death, she actually got the information on how to kill this thing. How to kill him was actually through that notebook that was stuck in his stomach. Now the other ability she displayed was her ability to summon the hands that hold Ray Beaver down. Remember those bluish hands? What ability were those? Well, that's from the spirit medium, sequence 7 spirit channeling ability, right? Their core ability is spirit channeling, allowing them to directly communicate with the natural spirits and wandering ghosts in real world. They can use different spirits they have controlled to actualize different kinds of effects, creating various kinds of supernatural phenomena in a rather multifaceted way. So you see, those spirits were under her command and she commanded them to hold him down. Well, so while the amount of spirits they can control is limited, right, with the advancement of each sequence, the quantity and quality of said spirits they can control will increase. She's quite powerful. And she was the right pick for the job. What I mean by that is that, remember, this was a joint operation, right, in tracking Ray Beaver down. I say this, remember the request Dan put in for the sealed artifact doll to the Holy Cathedral, as they are situated in a bureau in Tangel City. The operatives from the Holy Cathedral was Madame Dali, as well as those that came with her. So that's what I mean by joint operation. And what's more to observe about Madame Dali is in the explosion of Ray Bieber. I hope you saw that something relationship between her and Dunn. Remember how he ran up to her and then he went to go check, is she okay? It's quite interesting how they illustrated it, because in the novel it's actually, they have like a unspoken thing in their relationship. It's like a will they, won't they, and they're both aware of this, but they don't voice it, or they don't engage with it. But I just wanted to give you like a heads up. But that's not the thing that I want you to observe. I want you to keep her at the back of your mind, because she's quite an important character in helping Clint digest his potion, because she's actually a senior. They call her a protege in digesting potions fast, so she become quite a helpful hand in helping Clint digest his potion. Moving on to the next weirdo in the group. Well, I call him weirdo because he is, which is Leonard. Well, did you see his? I don't know. Did you see his little performance when Clint tried to see if he was okay, or after the fight when the group came together trying to see if people were okay, and then he approached Clint by telling him he was aware of that little stunt he did when he came under the effects of the sealed artifact, right? What Clint did was like he went into the gray fog, right? And Leonard didn't see the transition of the gray fog. He just saw that Clint had the ability to nullify that effect of the sealed artifact, thereby killing the clown. So he complimented Klein in secret that he saw that he's special. But what of it? What I want you to put note is that in episode 2, remember when they had that joint operation in investigating the kidnapping case, right? And he was weird after they took down the out of control beast, right? He tried to, I don't know what that was, but he called Klein. He said he was drawn to Klein in some way, and Klein he called him odd. What an oddball! Now, Leonard in some ways is a narcissist, right? He's a narcissist because he's actually come across an encounter that he feels has put him above others. Basically, he sees himself as an MC, as the main protagonist, and Clint picks up on that how Leonard views himself. He views himself as a protagonist, and but unfortunately, it doesn't come off as cool to Clint. It comes off as him being a narcissist. So back in episode 3, he talked to Klein, telling him that he's aware that he's also special by tapping his shoulder, and then he also said, I also have a secret. I'm quite undecided if I should disclose what encounter Leonard had. Should I tell you or shouldn't I tell you? If it's it's gonna be a spoiler, but it's not gonna be a major spoiler. You know what? I'll just tell it. So Leonard had a encounter with an angel, right? Like not that kind of angel, an angel, a very powerful one. So if you look back in episode 2, remember when he said have you picked up on something, and then his shadow moved, right? The angel is still with him. For now, I won't disclose what pathway the angel is. Just know that because of that encounter, Leonard sees himself as the one, the protagonist, the one people look up to. He's the MC in the story. So let's go to another Easter egg of the episode, which was Klein learning an acting principle of the Seer potion, right? Remember, acting principles help you digest the potion faster. So Klein realized this acting principle upon explaining it to his colleagues how he took down the clown operative, the Aurora operative, right? He expected them to ask the question how he took them down, and he had an answer prepared. So upon answering this question, right, it only dawned on Klein after him speaking his own answer out that he realized there was something to learn from his own explanation. For instance, the clown operative, right, was also a seer, so he had the ability to divine, the same as Klein, if there was danger in this operation. And for both of them, for both seers, there were danger in this. But from the clown's perspective, he divined that there would be danger from Bieber's transformation into a monster, right? He didn't expect the danger to come from all the Nighthawks as they were of low sequences. He didn't expect danger to come from them, right? And that's the irony here. Expecting danger from Bieber, but at the end, turning around, you get killed by sequence 9 seer. So Clint's explanation was the clown had a rough estimation of Klein's closeness to the range of the sealed artifact, so he might have misjudged the range. That was his explanation. All incorrect. It's just a ruse, an excuse of on Klein's side, because he was effectively affected by that sealed door. It's only because he had the grey fog with him, right? It's only when he uttered that celestial worthy, right, transporting him to the grey fog, was he able to undo or nullify the sealed artifacts effects on him, right, thereby able to fool the Aurora operative, killing him. But anyway, I'm moving past the point. The point is, so when it comes to divination, right, as powerful as it seems to give you revelations, right, to give you perspective, as it seems so overpowered, right, at first glance, right, even when you interpret signs, even when you do divination, even when you ask if there's danger in your spirit channeling, even when you do divination, right, these signs are only up for interpretation. You can never fully grasp all the signs, right? If a divination says there's danger in an operation, it might not be a danger you expect. Concluding, divination isn't all powerful. Thank you all for watching, and if you like the video, if you've learned something in this video, please give me a like, sub. It lets me know that you appreciate the time that I put in. And if you have any questions, please list them down in the comment section. Any scenes that you might not, please list them in the comment section. I will get back to you. I will answer your questions, and see you all next time. Look out for my video. See you all next time.